Hello and welcome to Growing with Sewing. My name is Bryton Zoz. Now, I know this is kind of new, and I want to get straight into it as soon as I can. But a little introduction before we get into it, just so we kind of know what we're getting into. The first business that I ever created started around clothes, but I don't know actually how to create or design clothes. So this series is all about me venturing into becoming a better creator, and especially with designing. So I have made hoodies before, I've made collections, I've had designs, I have a book full of them here. In fact, I have 2 prototypes for the very hoodie that we're going to be creating today. So the first prototype that we made for it was just made out of canvas, but this was my first time ever sewing. So the second one that I made, more of a hoodie, this is the body of the hoodie. So I went out, I bought new materials, I carried new plans for this, and today we're going to be trying to take on some of those plans, and eventually by the end of the video we'll have a completely finished prototype of this hoodie that we can call the Loopless Hoodie. So if not, let's get started. Come over here and look at the designs I have for this. So you can see over time I slowly evolved how I'm doing this. The first prototype for this, you can see prototype number 2. This is the design that I had, never went through with putting on the hood. This is what I want the hoodie to actually look like once it's all done. So for this one, the pattern that we have made out is very simple. I got these plans by essentially reverse engineering. I had a hoodie that I liked the way that it fit, and we'll be using this as the stencil today. Essentially, I just took apart a hoodie, and I'm going to be using this as the body for the hoodie that I'm going to be making today. So I already have my pattern, and I'm going to do this with more pieces. So as I do a pair of pants, I'll cut up a pair of pants, shorts, same thing. I'll do the same for all of them. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put this to the side, and we're going to start with our patterns. So the materials that I bought for this newer prototype, they're a little bit different. The last one was thick, the first one was very flimsy, and it wasn't really that good of a material. So instead of buying different color material like how this hoodie has, at the bottom here you see there's a different color, different type of material. I bought all the same type of material, more of like a fleece, linen, cotton type of material. The idea is to make it a lot more slim. I don't want it to be thick and bulky. The Loopless collection is supposed to be something that's very smooth, and it has a lot of curves, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of edges. I think I got 10 yards of each. Now these two I'm gonna stack on top of each other, so the linen is on the inside of the material, the canvas material is on the outside. At the end of this, I'm hoping it kind of gives more of like a dress shirt type feel, more than a hoodie, like a cotton type hoodie. We also got these Ritz dye. I got all the same colored fabrics in order to achieve the color differentiation that I wanted to get on the original project. We're going to be using these fabric dyes to dye each piece as we put them together, so then by the time everything comes together, it's all the same material, there's no inconsistencies between the piece, and it's all just one solid hoodie. So the first thing that we'll do to get started is we're going to cut out the patterns with these. What we're going to do is we're going to take the pieces that we're going to start with, so front, back, arm, other arm, and then hood. Okay. Most pattern makers, or people who are actually in the industry, use paper for their patterns. I know some people use like a laser projector, have it go down overhead. We are just going to be using previous pattern pieces that we've have used for other pieces. I think the best way to start is just to lay this out on the table and just start tracing. There's no other better way than to just start by cutting out the first piece. So on the fly, I'm gonna make some tweaks to this because the last body of the hoodie that we made, it was a little bit more bulky than I would have liked. And then I'm gonna take the pre-existing points and I'm gonna set them back maybe like an inch or 2. So it's not even much. This will definitely be high quality. We got one piece. Piece number 2. It's very windy out here. I feel like we definitely could have chose better conditions. So I'm essentially just pulling the cloth taut so that when I do cut this, it's not like I'm stretching the fabric or anything. Now, of course, there's going to be some wave, like it's not going to be perfect. With the seam allowance and then the way that we're going to sew it together, it should be fine. And at the end, it should just look like a normal jacket, even though if there were waves in this, by the end, you won't be able to tell. But that's piece 3. Piece number 4. Piece number 5. And that is piece 6, 8, and 9. Okay, now that we're done with this, the next fabric that we're going to be using is these linen sheets. Linen fabric. Alright, and we are back. Day number 2. Today we are going to be putting the garments together. To be honest, I'm not an expert in sewing machines, so half of this might just be me around with the sewing machine. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to take the linen sheets that we have and we're going to take the canvas sheets that we have and we're just going to put them back to back. So the idea is we're going to get the body first and then the cuffs are going to be done at a separate time. So the first part we're going to do like the whole body, the arms, and the hood, because all those are going to be the same color. See how this is the front? There's a different texture to that. So we're going to be attaching these front to back. At the end, these will just be thicker sheets, kind of add more warmth, a little bit more depth to it. So we're just going to go ahead and stack these. This is the front, that's the back, and then each of the arms. So we're going to start with the back piece. So I lowered my tension down to 1, and I feel like I haven't had any problems with it. I just jinxed it. So essentially, from a top-down point of view. But this is our order of operation. So from the inside, we're going to pin these each together. So when you're sewing clothes together, you have your inside seams and your outside seams. If we look on this last prototype, these seams are very clean. Like you don't even see the stitching. And the process of doing that is you sew the garment inside out. So imagine you have your t-shirt and you pulled it inside out. All the seams are on the inside. Nice thing. So to achieve the same result, we're going to be doing the same thing, folding them inside out. We're going to pin them all inside out. Kind of makes like a drape over. It's really making a hood before it makes a hoodie. Start with the front and back. So if this is the front, we're going to face the back of it inside out. Now that leaves us right here with these 2 collar pieces that line up. So these are the first 2 pieces that we're going to be stitching together. So now that we have those adhered together, you can kind of see the form of the body is starting to take shape. We're not going to attach these parts yet. That happens after we put on the arms, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. But first, let's go ahead and sew this together real quick. So with those 2 put together, there's that cape that I was talking about. That's the front. As we keep adding more pieces, it'll start to come more together. Next things that we're going to add are the arms. Now the arms go on real simple. They essentially get attached to this curve. So if I hold this up, you can see that there's a curve there. These arm pieces also happen to have a curve. So you can imagine how those will slot in. Let me put them together, then I'll show you. There. So that's how the arm attaches, like that. I'm gonna go over this a second time because the stitches are not perfect. Alright, now that we have that together, I want to take a break from doing the body of it, and I want to start adding the hood. So I'm going to go ahead, set this over to the side, get out our hood pieces. Right here, we have our pieces. These are facing the front side. For the front side, it's the textured side. The other side doesn't have any texture. Each of these pieces have one, and I want the inside and the outside of the hoodie to all have the same texture. We stitch these together in a way where it's gonna make sure that the inside and the outside are the same exact thing. If we're looking at this, you can see that this makes of a hood. This is gonna be our outside layer. That means that these two are gonna be sewn on the inside. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do that twice. Let's do the first piece. I can see very, very quickly that there are some size discrepancies here. So I am going to make sure that these are all the same size and shape, because if they're not, if these aren't the same size and these aren't the same shape, it's gonna look up. It's not gonna look good. So we'll just get started by pinning this. So these are pinned together. Now we're just going to take the machine and we're just going to go across these edges. So now that we have these two pieces sewn together, we can really check out how this is going to go together. This is going to be our piece on the outside. So we flip it inside out from what we're already given, and then you can see our hood shape starts to take place. We have these clean lines on the inside. So in order to get the two hood effect, this is our inside, this is our outside layer. So if we want this side to be inside while also remaining, you know, with that clean line on the outside, what we're going to do is we just want to flip these inside out, you know, just like how we did to get the first one. So I'm going to flip this one inside out. We're going to flip this one inside out. And we're just going to place this one on top, this one on the bottom. So then we're going to take a clean stitch to this line. It's a straight line. You can see the line that we're going to be stitching down. It's going to be this line. And once we go all the way around, it's going to give us that solid edge when we pull it inside out. And I'll show you what I mean real quick. I just got to pin these down. Slight mistake, but so you can see, well, before I just instinctually do that. So this is how it looks like inside out. You pull in and grab this very corner, and it starts to make the hoodie shape. What we're gonna do to make sure that this stays together is we're just gonna sew this bottom piece together, and naturally over time this piece will, like, over washes and over times of usage, it'll kind of fit more into its persona, I guess. So I'm pretty sure you can see what I'm gonna do. I just need to make sure that my stitches are even. Now that we have this, we can take that with the body. What we're gonna do is we're gonna attach the hood to the front. We're gonna zip up the sides. We're just gonna line up this collar. We're gonna press this up against the middle. So this is super important because this is going to tell us exactly where the hood lies. So just want to make sure it's in the middle, roughly. So let's go ahead and finish up sewing up the entire thing. So this part, all it is it's connecting all the pieces that haven't been connected. So I'm gonna make a straight line all the way across, all the way down, all of them. This one, I do gotta say, feels a lot more comfortable. I would wear this on the daily. All right, and we are back for day 3. Yesterday we got the body of the hoodie together. This hoodie that we have, I would say that this sits at about a large, maybe a medium. I would say medium more stiffly because this canvas material isn't flexible at all. It is a very, very stiff material. Now, I think that plays a lot into what I was originally trying to do with the idea of the piece. We're gonna be doing the cuffs today. Now that we have the base piece together, all of the next pieces following the base piece are gonna be different colors. This hoodie fits exceptionally well around the body. It's very comfortable, the hoodie. So if we look at the sketches that I made for this exact hoodie, came up with a pocket design. The way that I like to describe this is it's loopless. It's essentially, it doesn't stop. All the way around the hoodie, there's no seams. The seams kind of back up onto each other. With the first prototype, you can see the idea here is that we have one larger piece that goes all the way around, and one smaller piece that kind of just sits on top of it, and they make layers. So if you can imagine these two being different colors and being sewn on differently, like this will go underneath and this will go above. So once you have something like this, you essentially take that and that goes all the way around the body. That's the base idea. So it was poor execution on the first prototype. Now that we have a proper body that fits well, we're gonna now try and put the pockets on in a proper style. So if this is the sketch here and we only have the body for the hoodie, the next step that we're gonna do are these two, and we'll do them both at the same time. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the measurements. We're gonna be taking measurements of how far around this goes. I'm gonna do an extra like 50% length on it because of the way that I want it to fit and the way that I want it to overlap. So if we're gonna look at our designs here, this bottom piece starts right here on the back. So we're looking at the back side of the garment. It goes up like this, down, back around, up into like a hoodie pocket, straight over, and it does like a little curve, back over, onto the back, and then it curves down. And then that piece curves behind a different piece. And then so the second piece is start right here, and it goes up, down, over around, and then this one is a bigger Velcro pocket that pulls down. And it's gonna go around, and then back over, and then fold into itself. We're gonna go ahead and measure the diameter of the waist. We wanna know the size of our canvas that we're gonna have because I don't want the pockets to go above where the arms sit, and I don't want anything above in the top half. We're just gonna be focusing on the bottom half of the garment. So for both sides, that's about this distance right here. So we have this distance to play with, and this distance to play with. That's the area that we have to make this design stand out, and this is what makes the loopless hoodie loopless. So we got 25.5. We're gonna take 51 inches and we're gonna add 20 inches on top of that for our total length of 70 inches, 71 inches. Yeah, 71 inches is gonna be the total length of both of these. Now, if we look at the design, one happens to start here, the other one happens to start here. One happens to end here, the other one happens to end here. If both of these are 70 and they're both kind of slightly put off to the different side, the lengths will match up. At least that's the idea. 11 for the highest part of the hoodie. Gave them each a seam allowance on either side. So this piece will get pinned down right here. This piece will get pinned down. We're gonna attach this piece and this piece together first. Stitch this along this line, and then after I attach these two pieces, then we're gonna attach this piece to this piece. So it's like 1, 2, 3. So we're not gonna stitch these together yet. What we're gonna do, we're gonna measure out the cuff lengths, we're gonna cut the cuffs, and then we're gonna dye each piece. So each of these pieces are gonna be a different color. We're gonna get the measurements on each of these. So that this one was 25.5, and then we got 10, 10, and 10. So to make the cuffs and the waistband, it's just a rectangular piece of fabric. all of the pieces cut in order to assemble everything together. Now the next step is going to be dyeing these fabrics because each of these are going to be a different color. So the cufflinks are real simple, same with the waistband. Fold them in half, flip them inside out, attach them to the garment. So I cut each of these 4 inches, meaning once they're folded in half, they're 2 inches, and after they're attached to the garment, they'll extrude about 1.5 inches, only about that much. It's gonna add length to the garment, as well as just making sure that it's quality, so that that edge is sealed. When we're looking at this, we're gonna start with this left cuff link, fold it in half, and you fold it kind of like halfway down the middle. And so we're gonna sew along this line right here, but we're not gonna sew the entire thing, because we need to make sure that the ends can come out and make a loop. So bring this over to the sewing machine. After we fold it in half, we're gonna place it under the machine and then start a few inches in. So now you can see that there are 2 loops here. This is gonna come together like this, and then these loops are just gonna get stitched together. Now that we have that, it just flips inside of itself. It's gonna make this a little bit tighter because the pieces that we made happen to be a little bit tighter. So we're just gonna take this and we're gonna creep it up just a little bit. So now that we kind of decrease the size, you can see that this fits in a lot better. So we're just gonna go ahead and trim away the excess cloth here. Smaller without really affecting how the outside of the garment looks. This is supposed to go on the outside. So then when we flip it up, you get no seams. So that's ultimately what we're going for. Now we're going to do this on all the elements. So now that we have this piece here, I'm just going to pull it tight, and then we can see that that makes an entire loop. We're just going to finish off this seam right here. We're back. We have all the pieces here. Everything has been dyed. We're gonna assemble everything now. You can kind of get an idea of what it's gonna be like now that we have all these materials here. So I think the first step that we're gonna go here and do is we're just gonna attach these 2 pieces together, so the actual darker pieces, and we're gonna attach them at the seam here. This piece goes on very, very last. We're gonna put this on the front, and we're just gonna attach it around here where it needs to be attached. So this needs to be attached to this, and then this is getting attached to this in several different spots. We'll put this to the side. We're just gonna line these up. I think the most important part right now is just making sure that these are aligned properly. So now that all the pieces are attached together, kind of get a good idea. The next piece we're going to sew is this right here, edge to edge, and then we'll go down here too. Well, now that we have those 2 things put aside, let's go ahead and line up where this is going to go on the hoodie. You'd be surprised how many things you can eyeball in a life and still be good. All right, so after all is said and done, This piece took about 4 days to make, and we used about 4 yards of material in total. That's including the canvas and linen type material. And everything that we used to create this video, I'd say it cost about $40 worth of raw material to be able to actually produce this hoodie. It took 4 days, so I think that's where a lot of the sweat equity comes from. But I'll do a quick spin around. So you can see the design on the back as well. It carries all the way around. So, you know, it's one continuous design. It goes all the way around. There's no seams in it. It's supposed to seem like everything's overlapping. That's why it's called the Loopless Hoodie. Now, there are 11 more items in this collection, and we're going to be using these 11 more items to be able to build up my skills as a creator, and to be able to create better clothing, to be able to create better content. The idea is, over time, we'll see this progress. This is only my second hoodie that I've ever made. So during this video, we've learned a few things, and a few valuable things that we're going to take away into our next projects, like dyeing the clothing properly, making sure that we have the right temperature in water and the right solution to be able to dye them the proper color, and so it's all even, so you don't get this tie-dye type color. When we're doing the seams, it needs to be structured. I need to make sure that this is clean for the next video. We've learned enough from this project where we can take our lessons to the next video and we can apply them to be able to make an even better garment. The next video is going to be the loopless pants. Never created pants before, so again, this is all first time. This is why it's called Growing with Sewing. Anyways, this has been the episode. It's been really fun. I'm super happy that we can start this new series, and next location I'm super excited for. So ultimately, hit that subscribe button. This has been the third prototype of the Loopless Hoodie, which is item 1 of a 12-piece collection called the Loopless Collection. My name is Bryton Zoz. This has been Growing with Sewing. It's been super fun, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.